Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. You are here with Beyond the Briefcase with Barbara Ellison and myself, Sherry Knight. We are here with a whole host of people because they are thinking in terms of being able to do what it is that's appropriate and what's fun. So, we are going to be talking today at Beyond the Briefcase about all the things that these people do to bring some sanity into their lives, to be successful, and yet recognize that balance is usually out of the picture. We are focused on business or we are focused on our lives or our family or whatever, but we have to somehow figure out how to keep all of that, the balls juggling, etc., here and forever. So let's get started. Barbara, tell us about you and what it is that caused you to go, this is not working and I want to do something different.
Well, mine kind of started with a bit of a tragedy, and which I'll go into later. But right now, I'll tell you who I am and what I do. I'm Barbara Ellison. I'm a life transition mentor and founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of your life. And I work with late career business professionals to just thrive in retirement. So that's what I do now. So,
well, and you do it so well.
Why?
Thank you very much. Okay. And so, Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm Amy Greene, and I am a financial coach to entrepreneurs. I help entrepreneurs turn irregular income into unstoppable wealth and helping them manage their money both in business and in life.
Oh, I love that. You used the word unstoppable. That's the name of one of my books. Wow. Thank you. Sounds good. Okay, Alice, I see you next there on the screen. So how about you telling us about you?
So in a nutshell, I was an accountant for 15 plus years. And actually my husband said, why don't you stay home with our kids? I said, do what? Why would I do that? And come to find out, it's the best thing that could have ever happened. I quit my job and I spend my days seeing what they do, seeing how they grow, being with them. And I do a little work while they're asleep.
Wow. And you were telling me you get up at a really, really early hour. So we'll probably hear more about that later. Nikki, tell us about you.
Hi, everyone. I am Nikki. I am a project and social media consultant. So I support small business owners scale their business either through their projects like workshops, webinars, courses, you name it, to social media and their back-end operations. And I also stay home with my 2 babies as well.
Oh, you and Alice too. Good show. Oh dear. Bree, your turn.
Hi, my name is Bree. I am an integration coach and medium, and I help entrepreneurs really attract aligned partners so they can step into a legacy they're truly proud of.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And I'm Sherry Knight. I have Dimension 11, and I work with business owners from a perspective of people, performance, and profits. How do we get to the profits? You can't get there without the people and the performance, whether it's you or whether it's a team that you have. So exciting times for us these days because the world is not quite what it was a little while ago. And so looking at that, what are you doing? What's the story that you have in terms of where you've been, what made you go in the direction you are today? And Barbara, I'm going to start with you. That's where I started a few moments ago, but you corrected me because I was off in another land.
Yeah, that's quite all right. That's the beauty of this show is that, and why I love doing live shows. It shows people that they can just do it. And if something and they can reword or reframe or restart or whatever it is, and that's okay. So I'm Barbara Ellison, founder of Wellness Playroom. But my story started when I lost my husband, and I did not expect to be a widow at 61. But when he passed away, and when I woke up from my widow's fog, I realized that I had absolutely no idea of who I was outside of all the labels that I had put on myself of being a daughter and then being a wife and then being a mother and then being a divorced failure, but then being a successful wife again and being a business owner and a grandmother and now I'm a widow. Who's Barbara in all of that?
And that's quite the list of things. It's not just one or two.
It's not one. It's the list of things. And we all give ourselves those lists, especially women. We put all of these lists on ourselves of who we are, but by the job titles that we do. So now I have been able to transition that to now I work with late career business professionals who are facing retirement, and they have no idea of who they are outside of their job title, their job description. Their health is usually suffering because of the stress that they're under. And then their next thought is, how can I retire? How am I going to pay for retirement? So those are the three critical areas that I work with them in, and let them decide which one they want to work on first. So
that's critical. Yeah. And that aspect about allowing them to decide what is so important to them. I mean, we all want to start at the beginning, right? And work through, but that's not necessarily where other people want to start. So good for you for recognizing that.
Yeah.
Oh, Amy, tell us about what made you decide where you are at the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just divinely guided in terms of how I ended up here. It started with our own financial journey of climbing out of $245,000 of debt and just paying that off in 2 years. But halfway through that, I was let go from my job, aka fired. And so to be, type A and being fired was really quite an ego blow, but it became one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in the sense of leading me towards financial coaching. And so I started my business in 2017. So I've been doing this now 8 years, and it's evolved over time. And I've started with couples and individuals, and now I work with business owners. And I still work with individuals too. Like they still are, come and ask, like, do you still, but I still do the personal side as well. And so it's just been such a phenomenal experience to really help my clients experience the same transformations I have as I've entered this space and figured things out. And now I get to help them manage their money, both in business and in life.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. And kudos to you, because not everybody has the strength to do what you did. That's exciting. Yeah. Bree, let's go to you now.
With me, kind of similarly, I'm on this path now because I had a couple spiritual awakenings that really genuinely ruined my life. I started off as an engineer and reached all the success, from a material standpoint to the accolades. And I hit a point where I was like, what am I doing? I saw behind the scenes of why we made decisions in med tech, and it didn't align to my values. And so going through a clinical depression and really getting honest with myself of, what does clarity and integrity mean? What do I want to do with my life? Started me on this adventure, and through beautiful synchronicities of the universe, learning how to trust and really listen, and devoting myself to be in service to divine in a way, led me to where I'm now. Of, legacy isn't material. It's your soul. It's who you are. It's your mission and how you leave that behind. And everything I've learned from traveling the world is what I love teaching my clients of, how do you attract those aligned partners and really listen to your soul and then act from that place.
Very wise and very interesting that you started out as an engineer. This is a really 360-degree change.
Very much so, yes.
Wow. Good for you. It's not everybody that's willing to take that step. So amazing. Oh, dear. Okay, Alice.
So, as I mentioned before, I want to be home with my children, and I think it's one of the most important things in life. So, thinking about purpose, and I was all about being an accountant. I had that label on myself. I had the pride aspect of it because I went to school, I got the degree, I got the job, a few months after school. I did well in my job. And it was very, very difficult when my husband said, well, why don't you just quit? And I thought, what are you saying to me? And being an accountant, Amy would know, it's very difficult money-wise, the finances. I made more money than he did at the time. And I really, really had to think through, do I want to be an accountant and make the money and, send my kids to school or send them to daycare or be with them? And thankfully, my husband, he brought that up and he was not pushy, but I was definitely led to be with my children. And because of my background in accounting, I was able to pick up a bookkeeping job. And of course, that can be done at 4:45 in the morning, like we discussed before. It's not super urgent. And then when they go to bed at 8 o'clock, then I jump on the computer. I work from my bed a lot of the times in my pajamas or early in the morning at my kitchen table. So the beauty of being with them surpasses the money. And if we trust that, the the wealth will be there and we still do what we need to do. We work hard, but put family first, children first, then it works out. And a big aspect of what I want to do now is help other moms do the same thing. It is usually people find out that it's not fun to not be with your children. You look back when you're, 50, 60, and it's like, well, I was at a 9 to 5 job and it's not my favorite. But now many people are turning to homeschooling and just being home with their kids. And it's incredible these days, like you mentioned, Sherry, things have changed. Moms can have a laptop, a phone, and make money, real money. And a part of what I do now, I started out trying to sell budget spreadsheets. They don't sell very well. Come to find out, people don't want to look at their budget. Amy knows, but especially do a spreadsheet. But there's a whole world of other different kinds of digital products that can make an income for moms that they want to be home.
That's excellent. And you're so right. I don't know of anybody on their deathbed that says, I wish I'd have spent more time working. It's
Right.
always the opposite. I wish I'd have spent more time, with my family, with my kids, having fun, whatever, but it's never work. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for making that decision. And kudos to your husband, because not all husbands can manage that.
Yeah. And he works hard. So
That's wonderful. Good show. All right, Nikki, tell us, what was the pivot for you?
Similar to Alice, I was in corporate even after my daughter was born. She was born during COVID, so I had the taste of working from home, and after that, I went back part-time. But even when I went back, I was away from her at least 10 hours on a work day, and I did not like it. So my husband and I figured out a way for me to quit, and that was when I was pregnant with our second. So I made it and worked corporate part-time until he was born, and after that I started my own business, and I started out as a virtual assistant because I was scared, because I know exactly what I was doing in corporate and I was bringing in money, and I thought I could just, switch to being a VA, do the same thing, but work from home and work for myself. And after doing the same things, which was accounts payable and receivable, no offense to my money gals here, it was not my cup of tea. I absolutely hated it. I hated basically being an executive assistant. It was not feasible for my children's age at the time. I could not be in a client's inbox or calendar 24/7. It just was not feasible. And plus, I didn't enjoy it. So once I figured out and got brave enough, I transitioned to doing stuff that I actually love and went to school for. So I went to school basically for project management in the organizational side of business. So I was able to switch my title to project and social media consulting to put my education to use and do what I love and make money from it and stay home with my babies. So
All three things successful.
yeah.
Oh,
And
that's exciting.
like Alice said, there's no price on being here with your babies. There is nothing that could replace that.
That's amazing. Good for you to be able to make those decisions. It's not easy.
No.
Once you've made them, it gets easier. So that's the big thing. Well, and for me, it was interesting because I was working with the company as I'd set up their HR department in the fifth largest insurance company in Canada. And they had a certain department that they needed over 500 employees in that needed their own HR. So I set that all up. I was there for a little less than 2 years. And one day somebody said to me, because I had my own company, but it was part-time, like many of us start. And they said, if you don't start that business full-time by the time you're 40, you never will. And I was so insulted. I went home and thought, who do you think you are telling me things like that? And I went in the next day and handed in my resignation and said, I'll be out of here in 2 weeks. And as they say, the rest is history. I'm still with Dimension 11. It's been a number of years and I love it. But it was that one instance that was like, bang, go home, think about it, done. And so all that impact in terms of making those decisions is sometimes tough. But then there's the, how do I cope? How do I make it all work for me, for my family, for my friends, for everything in life? All the community things, the church things, all of these things, we still want to make them all work. And yet sometimes there's, a dish rag that gets thrown in there and we go, oh my gosh, I got to think about this. So I'm going to turn things over to Amy now to start this conversation with everybody in what do you do? What are the hints that you can share with other people to be able to look at life and go, oh, this is something I can incorporate and make a difference. So Amy, go for it.
Thank you so much. It's so cool to hear everyone's stories. And it's interesting because I know all these women personally, right? So it's just fun to bring us all together. And in listening to everyone, there's this theme of these pivots and changes to life, right? Like things will throw us, this curveball. We get fired or something happens or we choose to stay home because we have babies or, Bree takes a 180. She literally hit rock bottom, it sounds like, Bree, and then like you kind of woke up in that. And so let's talk a little bit about, we were talking about being moms, and I'm a mom too. It's not what I lead with anymore because my kids are in school and they go to public school. So they're first and fifth grade. And, but we all have lives, like we have lives outside of our business. And so I wanted to ask the question of how do you create your work-life harmony? It's not really balance. It's work-life harmony. How do you make them work together? Because even if you're single, like there's still like things happening around you that can be distracting, or you're like even for me, if I'm just home, I'm like, ooh, there can do dishes or laundry, or there's things that can be done. So how do you create that balance for you, that harmony for you that works for you? I know Alice, you said you wake up is it 4:45 you wake up, or do you wake up before them?
4:45.
Okay, I wake up at 5. It's not that much different. So yeah. Barbara's like, wait, what?
To tell you the truth, I'm a 5 o'clock girl because that's my quiet time. Because right now we're down to 8 of us in the house, but at the height of the shutdown, there was 15 of us.
Oh, nice.
Because
That's
the college kids who had left home, living in the dorms, well, they shut down the colleges. Well, guess what? They all came home.
Oh, that's a lot of people. I thought it was a lot with 2 kids in my husband's home.
And that's what I said, the 5-year-old, she comes in, knocks on my door, and she wants to play with the cats and the whole 9 yards. And yet there have been so many times where I've been able to say, oh, hey, I'm going to be here. So leave her playing in the bathtub while you go do this. because I work at home.
Yeah.
And that has been several times that I can see that has saved the family. Oh yeah, Brent's not going to be home yet. Oh, hey, you know what? I'm here. I work at home. So it gives us that flexibility. And I think that's one of the biggest things but embracing that flexibility and making your own schedule. Like lots of times I'm like, Alice, I'll be working from 7 to 10 because you know what? And I'm a combination because the social media, you can post anytime.
Right.
And you can answer emails and all that kind of stuff anytime. And I think that's but getting that flexibility and okay, ladies, without feeling the guilt about it.
Yeah.
If you don't get something done. And women, okay, I want to see whoever feels guilty about they're not doing enough.
That's a terrible question.
But it's absolutely the truth. So ladies out there, whoever's listening, that's for somebody. And that's why one of the things that Sherry and I, when we first talked about doing this show, we want people to just to be real. Hey, you know what? Yeah, we all have lives. And we're all going to have those limiting and sabotaging beliefs that we're not doing enough.
So a big thing I don't do is chores. I'm just kidding.
Once in a while.
I really wish I could pay somebody to do my chores. Maybe one day when I hit it big. But really, realistically, what I have done is pivoted in my business. So for a while, the way I actually met Amy is I thought it would be a good idea to have Zoom calls, one-on-one calls with people all the time. And I decided that's just not feasible. With my children being 5 and 3, I can't take Zoom calls during the day. Right now they're with Nana, and then that's why I can do this. But so I pivoted to something I could do that it's on social media. I post when I can, and I message people when I can, but I can't, sit down for an hour and talk about budgeting or spreadsheets or bookkeeping or whatnot. So with the digital products, I can help people set up their own little business, and I don't have to sit down and actually, spend an hour with them.
That's really that really creates efficiency. You're like, I can do it all from text or messaging. And we've had some conversations that are just messaging. And you're like, here's an invoice. And I'm like, okay, like that's it. And so it's really, really awesome. Yeah. How have you, like Nikki or Bree, how do you create that harmony in your life between work and living?
I honestly have had to learn to pivot my business with what's going on in my life at the time. So we all know that kids change on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. So I try to pivot according to them, because having a newborn and starting a business is totally different than having a established business and having my youngest be 2.5 now. So I have definitely had to pivot. Like, I don't take calls on certain days. There's certain times of the day I do not work. I have my mother-in-law who watches my kids 2 days out of the week. So I try to do my major projects or things that need my undivided attention on those days only, as well as meetings. So I've had to put up a lot of boundaries and actually listen to them, because I am definitely a people pleaser. So putting up those boundaries and actually sticking to them is probably my biggest thing, and I still have to do it. But I also offer things like you're talking about, Alice, that doesn't require me to be on a call every day of the week. So I offer different type sessions like boxer support. I also offer, you can just boxer me throughout your day, or if you have questions, we can definitely set that up. But just things like that have helped with people who don't even necessarily need my, face-to-face or undivided attention. I can simply just answer a quick question or what have you. So those are there's always ways to do things without having to be undivided attentive with the other person.
That's
Great.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I'm just going to butt in here because
Yeah.
this past weekend, Easter Sunday, I gave myself a pat on the back for something like what you're saying, Nikki. I have worked really hard, and I was working, and on Easter Sunday, a bunch went out for brunch. Bunch for brunch. And I was invited. And my first thought was, no, I have to work. I have to get things done. And then I went, Sherry, on your deathbed, are you going to be saying, should have worked harder? No. And I went for brunch, and it was so difficult to make that decision, which is really interesting.
I've also had to put up a boundary to put my phone away on the weekends because I found myself even like laying in bed with my husband. I'm just like, oh, what's on Threads? What's going on with people, on Instagram, my friends, like what's going on? And I'm like, no, I have to. This is my time with him. I only get to see him a couple hours a day, if that. So that's my time with him, and I need to put work away.
Yeah. I remember one time a friend of mine, she was complaining about all the stuff that was on her calendar. And I finally looked at her and I said, Regina, who's in charge of your calendar? Remember that? She was like, oh, right. Who's in charge of your calendar? And we tend to forget that. So, yeah.
Yes, we do. We do forget that. Bree, I know you don't have kids, but tell us how you keep, you've got a very busy, full life. You live a nomadic life too, which is fabulous and fascinating all at once. Tell us how you create that harmony between your work and your life.
Yeah, like Amy mentioned, I'm single. I don't have children, so it's very different dynamic. But I do travel quite a bit, and I noticed while I was traveling, it was very easy to break my own boundaries and just work every single day. Because I'm like, I can do more. I can do more, and I'm a recovering people pleaser as well, Nikki. So it's that balance. And so for me, the boundaries are super important. How I work with my clients, it is that one-on-one time. And so I set certain days where these are my days I take calls, these are the days I have connections. I have other days where it's just I have one I call CEO day where I do admin work, different things like that. And then I keep Sundays completely sacred for me, and I don't do any work. It's just for play. It's I'll go dance, I'll go in nature, I'll do whatever is going to nourish my soul. And I'm very strict with that because there's always something that you can do. And there's always more that you can do. So for me, that's really important. And then throughout the day, I turn my phone on airplane mode before I go to bed. And I don't turn it back on until I wake up because I have that freedom and luxury. I know not everyone can. It's just so I don't fall into the trap of immediately going on social media or immediately checking all the messages. I wait until after I do my morning meditation because it helps ground me and just become more centered. And then I'll turn on the phone and see whatever emails or clients or things I need to do for social media. Helps me keep that harmony and just mental sanity for myself.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, I'm actually toying with the idea of putting my phone to bed because it's also my alarm clock. But I'm I'll just check one last time, one last sweep of things. And then in 30 minutes later, I'm watching cat videos on Instagram because I do like cats, but it's just I actually do like them. But I wanted to ask the question though, because it sounds like we're all we've all learned some things over the course of our businesses, and we've created our own schedule. But I want to know, how do you keep to that schedule? Because it's one thing to say, yes, I'm going to do my CEO day on mine is Mondays, but how do we keep to that? How do we truly put our phones away or do whatever we say we're going to do? We say we're going to wake up early. What are those things that you do to keep yourself on track with the schedule and the boundaries that you've set? And who wants to join in first?
One of my, I loved when Nikki and Bree said that you're in recovery. I'm a recovering, it's all or nothing girl. If I can't do it all, I don't do anything. And that is one of the things that I'm working on, of just taking time in the morning to get quiet and say, okay, what's the most important thing that I want or need to get done, like in the next 3 hours? And because sometimes I might get to 2 hours and there's an interruption. Okay, well, so I start as soon as that first thing comes to mind, I do that first, and then don't worry about the rest until the next time when I can sit down and say, okay, what do I need for the next hour? What inspired action? And that has helped with those boundaries, because sometimes when the phone rings and it's like, okay, yeah, Barb, can you? Okay, yeah, because I can make up that hour later in the day.
So what I do is, for boundaries, I do my work, the core of my work, like I said, early morning and the evenings, and I put my phone in the other room. I still have my watch so I can see, if it's something important like Amy messages me, I'll go get my phone and let her know, or whoever it is, that I can take care of their spreadsheet or take care of their bookkeeping or their project this evening or in the morning or sometime this week. So literally leaving the phone away from me is what works the best. But then something new comes up and I'm all excited about it and I sneak my phone in the room.
I love it.
But I try not to do that. Here and there it happens though.
Yeah, I love what Barbara said, similarly of like when I wake up and center, like picking 3 things that I want to accomplish each day. Because I notice if I pick more than 3, it doesn't get done, and then just like kind of hurts your mental health the more you're like, oh, I had all these things, but like I'm not doing them. And then the other thing, I'm really strict about my calendar. I think it's from like my engineer days and being a project manager. Like I really like structure. So I this is like more spiritual side, esoteric. Like each day is associated to a planet. And so that planet gauges like what's really effective, like either having meetings or writing content or like brainstorming. I set my week up in accordance to that. And it helps me stay like excited about what I'm doing. But in terms of the phone distraction, for me, like dedicate Mondays and Fridays to content writing and like making reels and like social media. So like have my phone on me, but then other than that, I do my best to keep it away or turn on like do not disturb, because like you can somehow catch yourself like doom scrolling, and it's like really detracts from being effective, is what I found works to keep that harmony.
Right. Once in a while I get caught up in the cat videos or my girlfriend raises chickens. And she sends me chicken things. Well, you go from one chicken thing to and I think it was Bree that said a half an hour later, I'm still, I'm lying in bed watching chicken things. It's like,
So true. Nikki, what about you? How do you stick to? Yeah.
For me, I set my week up for I have theme days.
Oh.
So Mondays, like Amy, are my CEO days. So that is everything for my business and my business only. I do no client work whatsoever. And that helps me set up for the rest of the week. That way I do not have to worry about any back end issues or to-dos. And on the days that I do have my kiddos are light client work. Anything that I can do in 30 minutes or less goes on those days. And on the days where I do not have my kids are my more high complex projects that need my undivided attention. So I try to break my week up like that. And that way, because I know I'm going to be interrupted on the days that I have my kids. That's just going to happen. So anything that I can do in even 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I break down. I use a project management system for myself as well. So I break down all of my tasks into easy bite size items. That way I can mark it off. I can keep moving through the day. But as I move through the day while having those distractions, I know exactly where I left off. And I can pick right back up where I'm at in my day. So
I love that.
yeah.
It's exciting. And Nikki, picking up on what you're saying there, my big thing for me is I have one sentence that I ask myself constantly, and that is, what's the best use of my time right now?
Mhm.
So if I have 3 minutes, or if I have 30 minutes or an hour, I mean, let's face it, none of us have a life that rarely gets uninterrupted. On average, it's 8 minutes. Every 8 minutes, we are going to be interrupted. So to get our mind back into things takes 23 minutes, which, I mean, that destroys the whole day. But the idea of being able to just ask myself that question, even when I'm interrupted, is okay, what needs to be done now that I can do, maybe a title I can work on, or I can make a phone call, or I can work on a paragraph of something. I can't do it all. But it also helps then you get to give yourself the pat on the back that says you're doing okay, instead of, oh my gosh, you're really screwed up on that. You didn't get it all done in the time that you had allotted for it. So.
Yeah. And one of the things on that note, Sherry, too, that I have found for myself is that sometimes if I'm struggling to do something, I ask if I'm getting to like really struggling with it, then I'll take a step back, take a breath and go, okay, am I really supposed to be doing this? Or is this something that I should delegate to somebody that does it in a breeze? And there have been a couple of times I've said to myself, why am I struggling with this? And that inner gut feeling said, because you're not supposed to be doing it. Ooh.
Like bookkeeping.
Oh, like bookkeeping.
Or any spreadsheet. Like I had Alice help with a spreadsheet. I was like, I don't have time to look at this. And she helped.
That's great.
Yeah, that's so good.
Spreadsheets cause people want to pull their hair out. So.
Or more, like jump off a cliff.
Always
go a little more drastic.
It's aggressive, but yes.
Oh, good. It's so good. I think for me, like staying to the schedule I've set, keeping my boundaries is really, I always tap into like my future self. Like, hey, I'm at my, I don't know, $250,000 coach self. Like, what is she doing? How does she behave? What is she up to? She's making the most of every minute. She's not going to get distracted with online shopping or home decorating right now because it's work time. And so those are the things that distract me. And so, it's like, oh, I need swimsuits because it's summer. Like, no, focus at work, right? Here we are. We got to focus at work. So what would she do? How would she do it? She would have a set day to like shop online or to go shopping. So she organizes her time much better than I do today. So let me try to be more like her. I really wanted to spend some time talking real quick about how we protect our energy, because it came up a little bit in some of what we're saying. And, we talked a little bit about intuition and tapping into like what we know we need to do. And so how do you know when like you need to either take a break or shift something around or call in sick that day or whatever it is? Like, how do you protect your own energy? Because, I'm looking at Nikki and Alice, they have little kids and my kids are 6 and 10, so not that little. But I remember those days in business with a newborn, and it's really just chaotic. And you're working when they're sleeping, so you're not sleeping. So how do you protect your energy? How do you make sure that you're your best self while you're also trying to run a business and live a life?
Oh, God.
Go ahead, Bree.
For me, there's like the Balinese have this quote that if you have direction, you have protection. And like you see it, it's like this cross. And I have a tattoo. I don't know if it'll show, but essentially that's like the core of it. And it kind of sprinkles into what Amy was talking about as well, of when you really hone into thinking of like, who am I becoming? Who's that next level self? That is your direction. And when you can then have integrity with that, that's how I see you, quote unquote, protect your energy, because you discern like kind of, I think it was Barbara shared, it's like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like that deep knowing from your soul, like I have resistance for a reason. Let me get curious. It's like, oh, it's because I'm not supposed to do this. Like there's a legitimate reason there. And I think it's being able to tap into that of like, who's your future avatar allows you to really like filter fast on the things that are leaky energy versus the things that are in integrity and alignment. And then that's how I choose to walk, and that's how I teach my clients, because it's just trusting that deep knowing. And to cultivate that, I believe the simplest, most effective method is meditation, because that's how you listen to the soul and that deep knowing. And then it's the acting, which is usually the hardest part of how you then have the mechanism to protect your energy.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Brie. Who else? Who's next?
I think for me, it's hard. It's hard with kiddos at home and trying to run a business and keeping up with all of the things outside of that. But for me, I give myself days. Even some days when I don't have the kids, or like if, for instance, today my husband took them to do stuff with them, I give myself days to just do what I want to do. Yesterday, I took myself to get a massage for my birthday, and that was much needed. And I try to protect myself and my energy by giving back to myself and filling my cup up before, because and it's cliche, but it is true. You can't pour into other people unless your cup is at least somewhat full, or at least 3/4 of the way full. So I try to give myself grace and time when I especially know that I need it. So I give myself sick days, personal days.
Great.
That's right. So
That's
I have
wonderful. Go ahead.
I have found out that my business is a way of feeling productive, and it actually, tying back to the question, it helps my energy, it helps my mood, it helps how I feel all around. Because so I had my children, and like my story is so similar to Nikki's. I tried to work after my girl was born in 2020, year of COVID, and I tried to do part-time working at a hospital doing accounting, and that drained me. And so I finally quit, and I was with her, which is absolutely amazing. But I felt like I was missing something. And I've heard this and read this time and time again with women. I feel like, and I believe, truly believe, a most important thing in life is raising your children. Yet there's still this drive and desire to be productive. And that's where I think it gets mixed up sometimes. The moms feeling like they need to still be productive, they jump back into full-time work when sometimes it's better, especially, I mean, in my case, I want to be home, but I still want to be productive. I still want to earn. I still want to help my family in that way, but be present with them. So I have found out that weeks where we're on vacation, I'm not working, I'm not doing my 10 hours of bookkeeping, I don't like it. I wake up, I'm an early bird, obviously. I wake up early in the morning and I get an hour, hour and a half of work done, and I feel good about it. And I make money, of course. I wouldn't do it otherwise. And it helps my family. And then the rest of the day, I just sit with them. You know, my son sits in my lap an hour every morning, and my daughter, you know, we play. So I get things done, and then the rest of the day, I just hang out with my kids. So there's the aspect of being with them, yet being productive in a way that earns money. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but there is that desire, that drive to be productive and earn.
And you know, Alice, sometimes that drive to be productive and earn takes over everything else in our lives. And so you're so wise at being able to differentiate between the two. One of the things that I learned, and it was when not feeling well. And of course, I have never given myself permission to do this for years and years and years. I go and have a nap. And
Ooh.
then I go back to work because I am refreshed now and I have more energy now. But that was really, really hard to do. Very hard. When I was in the media years ago, it was not hard because my hours were from 6 in the morning till midnight. I would sometimes lay down behind my desk so nobody could see me and have a 10-minute nap. Power naps are amazing, but it took me 3 months to learn how to power nap.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do because if you sleep too long, you wake up and you're going,
Yeah.
we're just groggy. But yeah, we all find that little way to make it work for us. And I think that's the critical part. Very much so. Yeah. Amy, you've done an amazing job here of keeping everybody on track or on tack. Sorry, trap.
Thank you.
And so, as we begin to wrap up, what's the one thing that you want people to take away today and be able to implement so that they can make a difference in their own lives tomorrow? Who's going to go first?
For me, it's knowing that you are your own boss. It's your business. And I think a lot of times people fall into well, I've got to do this for this client, or somebody's waiting on me for do this. Well, if you're sick, or your kids are sick, or something's going on in your personal life and you just do not have the energy to provide them the quality work that you want for them and that they deserve, it's okay. Take a minute, take a break, take the day, give yourself that space to create your own schedule, what works for you in your own life.
That makes total sense, but it's not easy.
It's not. It took me 2.5 years to be okay with it.
And that's part of it, isn't it? Being okay with it for ourselves instead of beating ourselves up going, we should be doing this differently.
Because I promise the person on the other end, if they're the right client for you, probably would tell you to either take the day or take your time or what have you.
Good point. Very good point. Yes, they sometimes understand better than we do.
They do. They can see it on your face or hear it in your voice sometimes.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good. Oh dear.
I would love.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I would love to encourage moms, if you're at home, if you're thinking about staying at home, start somewhere, start small. If you're wanting to earn, if you're wanting to be productive, and pivot. Like Nikki has also said, with small children, you need to be able to adapt and change. And if, this business plan A didn't work out exactly how you want to do it, try plan B and a C and a D, and how many ever it takes to get to what works for your life. If you want to be with your children throughout the day, find a business model that allows for that.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Everybody's an individual. Make it work for you.
Right.
We don't all have this cookie cutter life. So good point.
And the 9 to 5 does not work for everyone.
Thank heavens. Right? Yeah. Wouldn't the world be dull if everybody worked from 9 to 5 and there was nobody there after 5? Right?
It's very true.
Couldn't go to a restaurant because no one would be working there.
Yeah, and that's how it used to be in many ways. That's how a lot of businesses run. Everybody worked 9 to 5 and they were closed on Sunday.
Yep.
But it added so much to the society when people got to choose different shifts that worked for them.
Yeah. You realize, Barbara, that you're showing our age when we know that we didn't used to. Okay.
Quite all right. Bree, what do you have?
I think for everyone to take a moment to pause and listen to the truth of what's being asked for them in their soul and acting from that place. And then giving yourself lots of grace, because even though it's super simple, it's one of the hardest things I think to do when there's so much noise and different perspectives on how we should live our lives, be it in business or how we create harmony. It's like really listening to what is truth for you and what's in resonance, and acting from that, knowing like you are the co-creator of your life. You get to choose what your life looks like and how you are living through that and how you receive information, and just giving yourself lots of grace. I think especially during these times when everything is changing so quickly, of like being excuse me, just being patient with yourself and kind to yourself, I think is most important.
And that's so hard.
It's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just jump on top of that, because I think what I wrote down was someone said, like, we feel like we should be doing X, we should be doing Y, we should be doing more. And I just really want to just, since we're talking about women and women in business, is don't shit all over yourself. Like, you're exactly where you need to be. You're doing exactly what you're meant to do. Align with your future self. Who do you want to become? And then that's going to give you the direction and the protection, as Bree told us, because that's exactly like your greatest asset. You're not, who are we without our businesses? Like, who are we without our kids, without our we're still humans, and we still have souls, and we still have purpose. And so really tapping into you and really making sure that you're not shaming yourself for not checking all the 80 boxes on your to-do list. Like that, like, let's just have 2 or 3 today, ladies. Like, that's fine. That's perfect. That's great. You're still going to do the dishes. You're still going to get the, like things are still going to get done, And so, but really just taking care of you and knowing that you're on the right path.
So true. And all of it makes sense. And all these ideas that you've brought forward are amazing. Barbara, you probably have an idea too.
I think one of the things for me is that to just celebrate, though, like Amy just said, celebrate those 2, 1 or 2, even one thing that you do get done. Celebrate that. Let the rest of it go, because it will happen. If it's meant to happen, it will. So celebrate the things that you are and are doing, and let go of the things that aren't you, that aren't in your wheelhouse or in your field of expertise. We try to do so much and then go, oh, why can't I do this? Well, because that's not your wheelhouse. Give it to somebody who it is. But celebrate the things that you are doing, because your things that you're celebrating, that you are what somebody else is struggling with. So get it out there. Get it out there.
Which is why when we are doing this, Barbara is the techie person and Sherry is not. And I remember many years ago, I don't have staff anymore, but when I had staff, they were constantly hounding me to get better at this whole computer stuff, techie stuff. And I go, finally one day I went in and I said, okay, who here can stand up with 10 minutes notice and talk to a group of 800 people? And they all looked at me and went, no. And I went, I can. Yes. So I don't want to be hassled anymore about computer and techie and etc. So yeah, we need to do, you're right, we need to do what's important for us and to recognize it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that creates challenges within families, because sometimes within a family there's an expectation of, if you're a mother, if you're a wife, if you're a housekeeper, we have all these labels attached to us that we have to really recognize which ones are we okay with living with and which ones are not okay for us. And that's tough. That's tough. Well, folks, thank you so much, Amy. Nikki.
Did Nikki get to share her last final thoughts?
I thought she did, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember. Oh.
That's good. But one of my final thoughts, though, is if you have enjoyed this panel discussion and would like to come on as a guest, the way Amy had, and she brought 3 panelists to talk about this, then feel free to reach out, and you'll reach out to Sherry and just say, hey, you know what? I would love to be a co-host on the show. And then we'll give you all of the things, and then we give you all the marketing to do for it, and we set up I set up this, I produce this part, Sherry does all the rest of it. And so if that's something that you would like to do, feel free to reach out and let us know that you would like to do that. Because one of the things that I have realized for myself and for the people that I work with is that we all have businesses. Well, a lot of us have businesses, but those of us that do have businesses, we have products and services that we want to share. Well, but people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Well, how are people going to find out about you if you don't get yourself visible? So that's what people want to know: who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Hence this show. We want to showcase all of you, what you do and why you do it, because of your story. So if that's you, and if you're listening to this and you want to do that for yourself, feel free, reach out, get in touch with Sherry, and we'll set you up as on one of our future shows. So that's it for me. So Sherry?
That's good. Thank you all for joining us, those of you who are listening and those of you who are here on our show today. Thank you so much, because you have brought such relevant ideas to people that they can take and use today, tomorrow, right away. It's not something that they have to plan for, because 9 times out of 10, when we plan for it, it doesn't happen. So good on you in order to do that. And thank you, Amy. Thank you for all that you've done to bring these 3 amazing women with you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Come on. It's ending. It really is.